Well, it is a foggy afternoon here in Montreal as we get set to go racing with just 3 races on the docket before the 11th season of the Beer League draws to a close. Welcome to the show. My name is Rempel alongside Acinni. We bring you all of racing action here this afternoon. It's the Beer League here in Montreal. Obviously, Fen, this race tonight here expected to be a wild one here this afternoon. We are anticipating a lot of fun action here over the next hour and a half or so as this track gets set to run to life on our first proper wet race in a good number of weeks.
Absolutely is a good number of good first true wet race. Was raining before practice, kind of petered off into the beginning of practice, and it looks like there is rain on the horizon in the forecast, so I think it's going to be a fantastic and interesting one as the wet tires stay on for qualifying.
Well, let's take a rumble down to the driver's stand. He's entering this one, and while the points still remain tight, right? Henry Morris up there with 242 points at the top of the boards. Giovanni Romano back with 235. Henry Lieberman also only there with 234. So right now, the top 3 separated by less than 10 points. And with only 3 races to go, time is running out if drivers want to break away. And at this point, it could very well be a 3 or even a 4-way fight entering the season finale.
Yeah, I got the feeling that we haven't seen the final spots settle for any of those drivers. And I think the same is true for the final podium spot between Formula Lights and Hale Satan in the team championships.
Yeah, the Hale Satin crew right now up by or down by just 1 point, and of course, just 11 points up from then. You'll find Serial Team 6 in number 2 here in the qualifying sheets, as not in the qualifying sheets, in the championship stand as well as for the Teams Cup. So several drivers right now out there here in qualifying as they get set to turn some laps here this afternoon, and well, it'll be a pretty wild ride as far as the races go here this afternoon. Let's ride on Worthbrooks Clayton. He'll take you for a lap here around the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Track's still a little bit greasy, but it looks like it is in fact dry enough for slick tires.
It is indeed, it looks like, for the moment, as they go through turn number 1 into turn number 2. Lovely winding right-hander, fast section under the Napa Bridge, and then into turns 3 and 4, I believe. A fast section of corners, a little bit sketchy as the track is dried out just enough to put on those slicks. And that little kink there being the turn number 5 into the braking zones for turns number 6, 7. Lovely switchback. And then down kind of the back straight into turns 8 and 9. Another chicane in the opposite direction. Brake hard at that 200-meter board. Drop down into third or second. The way these tires are, and then back to the gears, and to what's famously known as hairpin or le pingle. Is the lovely Montreal way of saying it. I'm probably butchering that accent entirely. Turn 10 is that one, that hairpin. Turn 11 is technically like just this little spot in the casino straight here at the end of the lap, and then we have the final chicane that ends with the world champions choosing out of the lap. That's what Joe Villeneuve.
Into that final chicane, and I'm expecting to see a couple of drivers getting caught out by this chicane here over the course of the afternoon, but that is, as you say, a lap around the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Still got a couple of drivers here that are trying to put down times on the boards. Greg Beckman right now is among them, as you see Beckman looking to fire his way off and away down the stretch and towards the start-finish line. He will look to do just that. So this field looking to be a pretty solid drive here this afternoon as, well, the times just continue to come on in.
Yeah, with Alexander Buehler topping the timing charts at the moment, it's going to be, I think, a little bit of an interesting one. We're going to see a little bit more spread to this grid than we did in a couple of weeks past, especially at Monza with how fast that lap is, and just being separated by hundreds of thousands between the top 10. Only the top 5 or so are really separated between a small margin and a jump from Henry Morris in P2 to Alexander Buehler.
Right now, quite a few drivers still making their way up and around the racetrack here. You know, we can talk about the weather a little bit on how this race anticipated to go as Ryan Verhulst's going to go into the number 8 spot here on the boards. Right now, The weather, very, very cloudy, very high humidity, very high winds, right? 17 miles an hour blowing off to the north end, so a lot of tailwind down some of these straightaways the drivers contend with, and likewise a lot of headwinds going to be disrupting braking points throughout the course of the afternoon. Sitting about 80 degrees Fahrenheit down to the racing circuit, but right now about what, 3:07 p.m. We are expecting rain around 3:45, right? About 77% chance of precipitation in about 15-20 minutes time, so we might be getting that.
It's up to 96% over on my weather forecast I have from the lovely iRacing data. I see off in the distance on the radar a little bit of green, a little bit of blue, slowly making its way towards the track. And I think in just a little bit of time we might get a little bit of precipitation. It may blow past them, may not.
Henry Morris just went to the fastest time on the boards at 1:29.743 for Morris. So drivers really trying to fire in these laps as quick as they can now. Oh, a Sacker catches the wall of champions and he's going to go hard into the pit side wall as well. But like you say, right, trying to get this thing sorted so they can try and desperately get these laps in before that rain hits. Ryan Verhulst going to be slower here. He honestly would have been quicker, right? You can tell that was a flying lap, and look at how close he was, only 300ths off, and that was when he had to go evasive off of the final chicane, and where he overshot his braking point on the way in. That car has got top 5 pace underneath it right now.
I get a feeling it does, at least from where it's standing at the moment, at least getting himself well within that top 5 or further up out of the 10th place where he was, 11th. So he falls to after, I believe Alex Copper put in a time of 3rd best for 1:30.392 at the moment.
Scott Fleming across the wire. Going to go 1:30.686. That would have been good by 1.2 seconds. Unfortunately for him, though, not able to have a good run here. A lot of times really starting to come down as Justin Hall catches the wall at champions. But you can tell these times are coming down, right? Especially as the track has gotten a little bit more grip in it, and realistically, when you factor in the rain, this is about the quickest we're going to be seeing this track all night long.
Yeah, that it will be, I think the fastest we're going to see it tonight is in this kind of more dry spell. Risking it on the curbs here, but I think otherwise it's a pretty dry track for the moment. However, I think it'll change pretty rapidly once that rain sets in.
Well, the battle's still not done yet here in qualifying. Well, again, while it is a track that is a competitive one, and there are some quick times that we had, it is still quite a greasy racetrack, which is where we see several drivers still battling out with these race cars to try to fight their way up and around. And the racing tonight at this much tighter racetrack, it's going to be so different to the draft-heavy pack racing that we saw last week at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. Hopefully, we're not going to be seeing nearly as many high flyers that race as well. I think we've had to send half of our camera crew to therapy after that race. With I think the count was up to, 4 or 5 cameras nearly getting taken out by flying race cars, and most notably, Coffer down to the opening Lesmo of that racetrack. There goes Carlton off the road and just overshot the brake point on the way. May have caught a little bit of standing water.
Yeah, I think so. Too much of that inside curb will catch it and cause it to maybe hydroplane. That is not fully dry yet. We saw Jason Lee just off camera there also having off there after trying to get past P4 where he currently sits. Yeah, I think still some water on the inside of these corners where it hasn't fully dried out yet from the heat of the tires.
Alex Coffer unable to improve. One driver that does, though, Henry Lieberman, jumping all the way up to the 3rd place spot with a 1:30.090. He now sits just shy of 600ths behind Alexander Bueller. Coffer, I'm honestly surprised, has not been able to put down a lap that has been closer to the top time of Henry Morris. He's usually a driver that we see curb stomping the field here at qualifier, right? But Coffer, so far, is still running in 4th and hasn't shown nearly enough pace for position yet. He would need to be up by, we're talking 0.7 of a second. But realistically, he's got more problems in front. His car's going to go spinning off the road. That's going to disrupt this line, and that could ruin the lap.
Yeah, I think he'll have to try to find a new lap after that one. I don't think it impacted him as much as it could have. I think he just kept to the racing line and realized that car was going to go sputtering off into the grass, kind of in the runoff beyond turn number 5 there. So think it's very, I don't think it'll be better, but I think he's got, I think, more pace there now that he's finding where those apex exits are and the ability to get them dialed in. Based on the way this car seems to be driving, it's still a little slippery under acceleration unless you have to really apply that throttle control and not have the car slide on you.
Well, I was saying he doesn't have enough to contend for pole. How about that lap, though? Straight to number 2 and only 300ths off in remorse. But Lieberman resets it again. Lieberman back to the point, a 129.690. And just like that, Coffer's thinking, are you kidding me? I got to find another 10th out of this car?
Oh, I mean, if anything is proven true, I think he'll be able to find that 10th wherever he was trying to do the avoiding action and not run into Tyler Carlton there last lap. So let's see where he ends up on a fully clean lap by himself. But as this track will continue to kind of improve in speed over the next little while up until the rain, should it hit, we'll bring it back down here in 15 minutes time to half an hour.
Heads up for Darren Byes. He had a car stop sideways right in front of him on the racetrack, trying to get itself turned back around. Jake Casey right now working down the casino straight. Right now holding a 135.13, trying to chase a better time. He's only 3 thousandths off of 8th. He is only 7 thousandths off of 8th now as Alexander Bueller jumps up the order to the line. And it's not going to be an improvement. He misses out by half a tenth.
Always frustrating when you miss out by just that small margin, especially because if you're further up in a lap, I believe Kyle Blevins also is this time around, and you have a worst final sector. There we go. That's what we're talking about for Alex Coffer there up in top P1 with that 129.541. That's the fastest lap. Down to 10th and then some.
Do you reckon he heard us talking about him? Wanted to prove us wrong?
Not a factor into it. I think he either got that or got that little tingle behind your ears when somebody's talking about you but you can't hear it. That people claim exists. I think that might have been part of it. So one or the other.
Well, Coffer going to keep up the battle here as Chris Flames right now off of the final corner. He's trying to fight his way to the pit straightaway. Does he beat the 131.2? Yes, he does. 131.199. That, unfortunately, though, will not improve his position. It will improve his overall time, though, so it's going to make it a little bit harder to bump him out of that number 19 spot.
Well, from P13 down to about P22, P23 is about half a second to a little bit over. So he's got a lot of competition still in that range where he's currently sitting at 20.
Jake Casey jumps out the boards to a 129.858 while Alex King goes 130.271. He will improve his standing within 7th place. Kyle Blevins making his way down the casino straight. Still hunting for a top 10 worthy time. He only needs to gain 4 thousandths of a second to overtake Chris Bright for that top spot, but that is easier said than done. And what's also easier said than done, pit entry here. Now, I think a lot of the field here hoping that we're not going to be getting green flag pit stops, because if we do, it's going to be, we're going to get at least one major pit road crash if we have green flag stops. And look at Kyle Blevins, 130.190, more than enough for a top 10. He'll jump into the number 7 spot. But you got to remember, right, pit entry here, it is full throttle in the pit road on the left-hand side of the racetrack on the racing line. So oftentimes, it's not uncommon and nice to see cars ducking around the right side of someone who's braking for the chicane, just a full throttle right past them and hit pit road because they don't want to lose any time.
Yeah, it's a interesting, a fun, unique pit entry and a unique pit out as well. It's a little more gentle than some of the other pit exits we've seen here so far this season on the beer league. Both
on the left-hand side here.
Yeah.
See that white line right in there. That's where he ducked into pit road. It's treacherous putting a mile even near the pack.
Absolutely, it's also going to be treacherous, especially if you add rain into that computation. It'll be, I think, very, they'll be a lot more careful with their entry than they would have been otherwise on a fully dry track.
Alex King was not able to improve on his lap, and I feel like drivers are getting kind of hitting the limit of what they can gather. Now, again, no shame in that, right? We're at the end of qualifying. This is around the time where, the qualifying battle started to kind of peter off just a little bit, although I will say Darren Bai jumping up tonight. That puts Aaron Thacker outside of a top 10.
Yep, that bumps Aaron Thacker down and closes down that gap between P9, where Darren Bai currently sits, down to, let's say, Evan Campbell down to 600s, almost a tenth separating those drivers. And it's going to be a fascinating, this mid-packet battle, I think, is nowhere near at all close to being resolved until we get out of the track for the feature race.
And of course, it's also going to be interesting to figure out who is going to end up doing what when it comes to the pit stop strategy as well. When it comes to changing over the tires on the transition period, it's always a difficult within the track, but especially so in open wheel cars, right? Because I mean, the margins are so fine. Stuff like a Mazda or a touring car, you can probably get away with putting on wet tires a little bit prematurely, and likewise with taking them off. You can't get away with that in a Formula car because of just how critical it is and how much it impacts every aspect of the race car.
Absolutely, it's not as, and to be fair, depending on how early you put them on, as we watch this pile up of cars involving Alex King, how early you put them on, even with sports cars, while you can get away with it, you're still going to want to be running a slower lap time than you would be on a dry set of tires.
Oh, yeah.
So it's less critical, but I think it amplifies when you turn it into a Formula car that has all this downforce and really utilizes the tire to keep the grip glued to the road. Not having that when you have those wet tires really hinders your ability to put down lap time.
There's the last car right there. I believe that to be Henry Morse, just getting one final lap in, although he will not be able to be too successful in that. So with all of that said and done, qualifying going to draw to a close here this afternoon, and it's high time that we take a rundown on how things are going to pan on out here this afternoon for the sprint race for round number 7. Coffin for Apex Predator starts on number 1 alongside Henry Lieberman on that front row. Row 2 holds Henry Morse alongside Jay Kasich in 3rd and 4th. Row 3 holds Alexander Buehler alongside Scott Fleming, with row 4 bringing up the likes of Kyle Blevins and Alex King. Row 5 is going to be the number 22 of Darren Bai alongside Jason Lee. And close out the top 12 on the bump spot, it's Aaron Thacker and Chris Bright. From there, it's Austin Tucker, Evan Campbell, Tyler Carlton, Eric Ronneberg, Tom Vidal, Ron Wolf, Chris Flams, Sebastian Close, Jeremy Castro, Justin Hall, Ben Williams, Ryan Verhulst, Gabriel Gonzalez, Brooks Clayton, Carson Catlin, Greg Beckman, Ryan Murphy, Justin Brissy, Giovanni Romano, Tyler Augustino, Adam Joseph Mailhot, and Stefan Purcell. Closes out a 34-car field this afternoon, Ben.
And lovely to see all the cars at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. I think this track is such a great one for Formula-style racing, even in the wet. So I'm excited to see how this start gets underway here in just a moment's time.
Waiting on a handful of cars to grid on up still. There is Alex Coffer waiting patiently on pole position here this afternoon. Lieberman, Morse, Buehler, all have not gridded on up as of yet. What do you reckon here, Finn? Any craziness to expect here in the sprint race, given that it is now 3:31?
That's 3:31. 3:45, it is a 99% chance of rain. It is so very likely to hit. The weather just keeps moving in a band towards the racetrack. I think it'll be interesting. The last tail minute, we'll see a little bit of craziness. That final lap might see something interesting. And then how they transition for the feature will also matter.
3 drivers on wet tires. Henry Morse in 3rd, Romano in 31st, and Purcell in 34th. Everybody else on slicks.
Green.
And it's time to take off in the sprint race here this afternoon. The field driving her in deeper towards turn number 1. Alex Coffer trying to maintain that momentum. Over on the outside line, Jason Lee's already been turned, middle of the pack. Gonna back it up right into Evan Campbell. It's a big pile up. Coming around the turn number 1. More cars getting hopped up on top of one another. John Combs involved, and well, we go through turn numbers 3 and 4, and so far it's looking so far so clean. Thacker's out wide.
Thacker is out wide. Otherwise keeps it together. Tyler Carlton also having a similar run through turn number 3. The rest of the pack trying to button it down and get into a lovely snake to get through the technical sectors that are joined with lovely fast straights here at Circuit Job Villeneuve.
It's all about the braking points here, right? Who can be the most aggressive on the brakes without overshooting the mark? That is obviously always one of the big talking points here in this one. As we take a look down at the hairpin, do we see any major lunges coming on in here? Doesn't look like it. Pretty orderly, right? I mean, a bit of a calamity at turn 1, but no surprise there. Outside of that, it's been a very, very tame start to this race.
That it has, I think, only car around is going to be Stefan Purcell and Adam Joseph Mailhot at the tail end of this after that initial collision. But otherwise, everyone seems to have gotten away clean and clear through lap number 1. The rain threatens. It does not pour just yet.
Oh, hold on! One car just went halo first straight into the wall of champions. I believe that to be Gabriel Gonzalez, who is upside down on the pit straightaway now, right in the middle of the racetrack. And he just went slamming into the barriers. Ben Williams trying to pitch him back up and over.
You're going to see how easy that is.
Here we go.
How hard it is.
Gonna get some help there. There we go. We got it.
Nice.
It's not going to take a lap this time.
And they get going, but man, that looked so brutal.
That came out of nowhere in the wall of champions. Take a look back. As he's just going to get caught by Beckman and right into the fence.
Yeah, those tires collide and just pitches an up and over. And then he gets dragged along by Giovanni Romano as rain is now falling in sector 2 and 3 across the racetrack, that technical back half of the lap.
Look at this. I mean, that car just flies up and goes nose first into the tires. And that would be one of those situations, right, in the real world where you're thankful for the invention of the Halo in 2018, right, which is now effectively a mandate on just about all Formula cars that run onto the F5 banner. Well, there you see it, rain falling in the on the pit straight as well. Rain has officially hit the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the first time this season, and I feel like Henry Morris's decision to start on slick tires, he's down to 22nd. Yes, that's about to be a race saver for him, though, once this rain picks up in earnest.
I get the feeling as well that'll be an interesting one once it picks up in earnest. It's currently sitting at just like that blue initial kind of sprinkling of rain, but I think it'll pick up, and those that made the wet tire choice have absolutely made the right call here, along with Henry Morris.
You're right aboard Scott Flamin, right? You can see the drops falling all around the number 37 entry here. We don't often see transitioning rain in these types of beer league races, and already you can see how Scott Fleming kind of twitched a little bit mid-quarter there. The rain's starting to get to some of these guys. They'll have to be very, very careful for it. Not falling so heavily, I don't think, down at the hairpin. I don't think it's kind of fully hit there yet, but on the front straightaway, for sure.
Yeah, it is coming from the south to the north, so the hairpin is on the northmost end, really southwest to northeast. So they'll be sitting out the least there at that opposite end of at the hairpin there, and as they get back towards the start-finish stretch, it'll just kind of pick up in terms of the amount of water that's hit the track.
Henry Lieberman down pit road, and this again is going to bring out a very big question, right? How many of these drivers are going to try to hold out, right? How many of them think, okay, well, we're going to try to hold out, maybe see if this is just a passing sprinkle spell? And because if this rain goes away within 2 or 3 laps, then you don't want to be down pit road, because you're going to have to come down again to transition back over to slick tires, which is oftentimes why a lot of drivers will not jump the gun immediately when they see rain like this, especially in only a 10-minute sprint where you got no time to recover from a pit mistake.
Yeah, I don't think this rain is going anywhere for the sprint race. It's not a large band in the grand scheme of things, but it is currently raining and is currently passing over the track, getting heavier instead of lighter, and it is not like a small pocket, I don't think, for the heat race.
On board with Jeremy Castro. He's looking at a big trail out to the back end. Brooks Clayton has unfortunately just been serving the black flag, and I'm willing to bet probably for error, pit stop error on the way in. Castro's got quite the train starting to build up behind it, doesn't he?
He certainly does, as he's trying to keep that car going the right direction.
Hard on the inside for Tyler Carlton. Oh, and around, gonna go Jeremy Castro, in fact, and well, that's gonna unleash the whole train that was held up behind him. Got about, what, 9 minutes to go now.
Yep, and he has plenty of room to start running there and make up that distance. There by the first in that pack behind Evan Campbell. So excuse me, Rana, not there by.
We're starting to see some rooster tails kicking up behind these race cars as well, especially at higher speeds down that casino straight, which is going to start impairing visibility the longer this rain sticks around and the more damp this track becomes. It'll be one to watch out for at top speed. It's not something they really have to worry about right now in the lower speed corners, but when you get around to the faster straights of the racetrack, and it'll tell a story.
That it will, especially when the rain begins to become more of a problem with standing water, especially in the high-speed sections. When you have no grooves on those tire treads, it will just hydroplane across all of it, and then you're just watching the car kind of do a little bit of a dance, much like that.
Yeah, Tyler Carlton nearly going around.
Rain only intensifying here as these two go too wide down the backstretch towards the hairpin.
Carlton able to regain the initiative around the outside of Darren Bai. Finishes off another move there as Tom Badol has gone around. He's actually caught the wall. And he has a black flag.
I wonder if he caught the wall into pit lane.
Well, that was just fresh out of that was just seconds ago up on the racetrack. We'll take a look back here. This is Badol.
Okay. This is the casino straight, it looks like.
No, this is
oh, sorry, back straight.
Yeah.
Before the hairpin. 9-10.
I don't understand it. I don't know where that black flag would have come from. I mean, there was a car stopped in the fence right there. That was Jeremy Castro. I wonder if maybe he had a slowdown and he just never served it. Which, to be fair,
that's what I thought.
That slowdown's getting increasingly hard to serve in these transitioning conditions, right? Because iRacing doesn't recognize that, hey, your auto tires are actively losing time as it is.
Yeah, you have to actually make the conscious decision, just like a bunch of drivers did, to come out on wet. Kyle Blevins, Alexander Bueller, Scott Fleming, along with Chris Bright, all joined those on wet weather compounds. Super curious if that was a slowdown. I get the feeling it was, based on the way what we saw over the course of that.
Here you see the look at who's on slicks right now and who is on wet weather tires. Right now, Alexander Bueller, the furthest driver up on slick or on wet tires, the grooved tread, serving him well in increasingly greasy conditions. Now here's the catch. He's got two slick tire cars behind us. This is going to be the big question here. This is a really good benchmark, right, to see if slick tires are really the way to go or if those wet weather tires are going to look to pay off.
I get the feeling they're going to look to pay off. Alex Copper taking a spin into the wall of champions at the exit, trying to fight to keep the car going the right direction. Get the feeling that's going to be more I think we'll see a bit more of towards the end of the race here.
Well, Bueller's down to pit road, and I think that tells, not Bueller, sorry, Verhaal's down to pit road, and that I think tells you kind of all you need to know. As he was one of the drivers directly in this fight. A little bit more of a twitch, and you got Verhaalst and Beckman just up the road, 6th and 7th on the racetrack.
Evan Campbell, Justin Hall, Ryan Murphy, Tom and Dole all diving into pit lane. Tom and Dole obviously in to serve that black flag, as well as probably throw on a set of wets. like most of the field is doing. Jake Kasich, Alex Cofford, Alex King, all of the front runners still staying out on those dries, trying to keep the momentum they have gained in the dry portion to not lose any more time. But I get the feeling we'll see these drivers make their way down to pit lane here for too long with only 4 minutes.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
Big lick right into the wall for Greg Beckman. That was a brutal hit straight into the tire bundles. And look at how long it is taking to get back out, because if I watch, those wheels are just digging into the wet grass and just spinning his heels effectively.
You can see how much these drivers are having to work the steering wheel to keep the dry tires going the right direction. Dyron Bai, I think, having the similar issue coming out of the hairpin. Too much power down too quickly and causing that spin to happen, which only gets easier and easier the more rain that falls.
Romano has Scott Fleming attacking him around the outside, coming into the hairpin here. Now, these are two drivers that are now wet weather compounds, and Fleming going to go off the road, and he'll have to give up a spot. In fact, there's a slowdown here to Henry Morse, who's looking to slice through.
Plenty of cars finding their way around, Alex King amongst them. The rain just gets the track wet enough to where these wet tires are going to be better and faster, more consistent, but still having to keep the idea that there's still less downforce keeping these cars pinned to the ground, and also therefore less to keep the tires firmly gripped, with what little grip they do have being the kind of vented wet weather tires.
Oh, covered into deep into the hairpin at Lebingle as he is going to track out, and now he's got Jake Kasich breathing down his neck as well, right? And Kasich might be a ways back, but in the wet, that is a pretty close Formula Car fight, right? I mean, these are two drivers that are pretty evenly matched when it comes to pace and skill week after week. And, oh, they're both around! Both cars go spearing off the road. Coffin goes around the exit of the wall of champions. Kasich lost it on the way in. Chris Flam's trying to run them down from 20 seconds back, also on slick tires. And Bueller's not far behind them. Jake Kasich takes the lead.
Yeah, I think Alex had to serve a slowdown. Both of those drivers having that spin there, they both took the curbing, it looked like, one on the inside, one on the outside of that final chicane, which both cost them time because those curbs get very dangerous to drive on in the wet, even more so than they're not really super dangerous in the dry, but they become very deadly in the wet as they lose any sort of ability to give the tires extra grip or traction throughout the rotation. You saw Alex Coffin almost taking a spin.
John Combs using the wall and the exit of the hairpin just to try and keep the car pointed in the right direction here. I can't exactly say I fault him. Bueller ducks around Tyler Agostino into the first chicane here. Oh, and into the wall, big for Chris Flams. As Flams is going to be dropped out of a podium spot here and going to fall all the way back to 11th place and at 4.4 seconds behind Ryan Verhulst. Now, right now, that last lap, Bueller was fourth. Oh, no, Crawford. Yeah. Black flag.
Yep. Black flag is from race control, or should have used push to talk, I believe.
Really?
Yes, that's what I see in the iRacing from race control. And the black flag reason for Alex Coffin, his usual, I believe, starting from the back racing endeavor.
Okay, I understand.
26 seconds left.
I understand, okay. Basically an extra guarantee to make sure he starts in the back.
Yes. Now, what's interesting is how much the track is not, I think, going to dry out between now and the start of the feature race. We're coming to the tail end of the rain as we start the final lap with Jake Kasich. I'm curious to see how much it is around as he keeps trying to keep that car going the right direction for one more lap around Circuit Giles Villeneuve.
Well, Kasich going to try to go the distance here on one set of tires, staying on the slicks, even in the rain here. Austin Tucker on wet weather tires. Going to look to tuck around him, and Kasich into the wall. Goes in a little bit too deep. Coffer closes it, so does Alexander Buehler. Buehler now down to 8.3 seconds on a gap that was up to 20, only a couple laps to go.
I get the feeling it is going to be pretty treacherous, at least at the start of this feature race, based on how much Jake Kasich, Alex Coffer are fighting these cars in any of the braking zones. You watch Alex Coffer there absolutely miss the braking zone because those tires immediately lock up because as they hydroplane. No TC to keep that car moving in the right direction, as by design.
Well, Jake Kasich remains up front. Alex Crawford right behind him. No doubt going to make his usual exit at the wall of champions. I'm willing to bet probably going to vault off of some sausage curves to get the job done. Buehler going to reel the gap into 5.5 seconds. But that won't be enough. Crawford goes the long way around him into the wall of champions, and there it is. Just loops the back end. And that will allow Jake Kasich to sweep through, and he takes the win here this afternoon as Crawford junks it on the front straightaway.
Yeah, Alex Buehler and Giovanni Romano, a tight battle for second and third there. Only 700ths of a second separated those two drivers, as we'll see Henry Lieberman, Alex King come across the road.
Oh, and there's the party. That was some 10 out of 10 form right there.
That was like perfect, like
no kidding.
Oh, there's Eric Cronenberg.
And here comes everyone else. Wow. By hit the wall, so already rebounded right back into Combs. There goes Bright upside down. And he still got Alex Coffer, by the way, spinning his heels on the front straightaway, just having some fun with it. And I have a feeling like one of those guys just cleared the fence because he disappeared well before he actually went into the wall. But my, oh my. Ben Williams with a big slowdown. He's got to give up time to avoid getting black flag. And that takes us to the end of sprint race action here this afternoon. So plenty of time still yet to be had here this afternoon. In the meantime, there is the heat race results for race number 1 here this afternoon. We'll be back in a moment on Green Flag TV with more. Stay with us.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, welcome back to Green Flag TV as we are seconds away from main event action kicking off here this afternoon. The rain appears to have more or less ceased over the racetrack, but that track surface still going to be quite slick, and it's going to be a little bit before it fully dries out here this afternoon, meaning this start of the main event going to be a treacherous one. Well, we'll take a rundown of your starting grid here for the second race of the afternoon, as it is going to be started on pole position. As well, I say that, we jump forward, and well, the rain is back in full force. How about that? Aaron Thacker going to be up on number 1, Darren By back on number 2. From there, it is Tyler Augustino in 3rd, Kyle Blevins in 4th. You got Ronneberg in 5th, Fleming in 6th, Alex King, Henry Lieberman 7th and 8th, and then it's Morse and Romano rounding out the top 10. Row 6 is closed out by Alexander Bueller and Jay Kasich. Rob Wolf and Chris Bright sit on row 7. Row 8 holds Chris Flams and Carson Catlin. Row 9 with Justin Hall and Tyler Carlton. And Ben Williams and Ryan Murphy back on row 10. So, from there, it's Ryan Verhulst, Jason Lee, Stephen Purcell, Evan Campbell, Jeremy Castro, Greg Beckman, Austin Tucker, Gabriel Gonzalez, Justin Brissy, Alex Coffer, Tom O'Dole, Adam Joseph Mailhot, Brooks Clayton, Sebastian Close, rounding out the 34-car grid this afternoon. So it's going to be a hotly contested fight here this afternoon as well, drivers making that decision, right? Do I start on slicks? Do I start on dries? And that is an age-old question when you got a racetrack like this, although with the rain pattern down, I think if you're not starting on wets, you're a little bit insane.
Yeah, with how much the water has accumulated for these drivers, I would imagine, based on the standing water I'm seeing around in the scenic camera as I'm taking a walk on the track, I think it's going to be wet for at least the first little while. We have a last patch of rain crossing over the track now. Should be coming to an end just at the end of gridding. Maybe by the end of our second lap, we'll see that rain actually stop falling. So it's going to be a good while before the track dries out enough to put back on drive.
Still waiting to see who's going to end up starting this race in pit road, expecting for Bueller and Romano to be 2 of those drivers, the 10th and 11th place starters. Everyone else has fully gridded up and is ready to go. Fenn going in, we'll talk about that more in a moment, but right now the revs are going to build.
Green.
And it's go, go, go! The lights held for a long time, but the field is in full force now as we thunder it down towards turn number 1, although there's already big calamities on the front straightaway as they tried to get off the line, and several cars have been sent scattering.
Yep, there are so many floating around. Alex King also around, Scott Fleming, Austin Tucker driving right into the line of cars.
Oh my,
Stephen Purcell getting caught up as Alex King tries to rejoin. And a high body count to start off the race with Jason Lee, I think, ending up spinning in front of Giovanni Romano at the start.
No one is safe. Darren By off the road. He's going to drop out of the race lead. He had taken it early on here in this one as, well, now the field going to get set to thunder off once again as we track down the back straightaway. Still got cars spearing off left, right, front, and center. Guys, a lot of guys have had no time to practice on the newer track conditions here this afternoon for this main event, and this is what makes rain racing so challenging, right? It doesn't matter how much practice you get. Every lap is going to be different from the one before it. You cannot rely on just practice to get you through some wet weather practice.
Yeah, absolutely not. Especially depending on how that rain accumulates. It really changes how you drive on this sort of traction. Because it could be no rain, but like all the standing water we have just makes it to where this two-eye battle between Kyle Blevins and Tyler Augustino makes for such interesting racing. Rain racing, one of my favorites. I love seeing it whenever we get a chance to switch back from Kyle Blevins trying to get that crossover done. Let's say that as it's a whole bunch of cars.
They remain 2 wide into turn number 1 with Kyle Blevins holding the inside. Augustino trying to fight this one the short way around turn 2, but Blevins slips wide into the wet, and that's going to let Augustino get through back for the race lead.
Yeah, this battle has kept Henry Morris, Jake Kasich, as well as Henry Lieberman all right behind them for the lead of this race, and the top, 7 are within, a tenth and a half, or sorry, excuse me, a second and a half.
Oh, Augustino's in hot.
Oh, and he is gonna rejoin right as Kyle Blevins passes through, so he'll probably pick up the tail end of this train of cars.
My, oh my. Well, a pretty aggressive way to kick off racing action here tonight. This was the big incident that happened here on just lap number 1 of this race, as it was Jason Lee who came together, and it was carnage from there.
Yeah, and you see all these cars getting spun around as they try to keep going. Then this Aaron Thacker, Scott Fleming get into each other. Alex King getting spun around, and then he, as he rejoins, we'll see in a moment, will get into contact with Stephen Purcell, who got into the initial grid incident and then just keeps bumping cars around as he's trying to rejoin the circuit.
King might catch some flack for that. I know the beer league doesn't take the most amount of kind to just pulling onto the racetrack in front of other drivers, right? I mean, you're a bit slack on driving standards, but I mean, when you're just blatantly driving back onto the racetrack in front of other people, especially those that weren't involved in this incident, they tend to kind of look at that a little bit closer.
They do indeed. I get the feeling it'll be something they'll have to review, especially given the number of cars that got spun by him as he rejoined and kept trying to rejoin. But top 3 all within a second of each other. This battle for the lead still going on strong as they keep these cars pretty well and clear of that curbing at the moment. You'll see them begin to use it more and more as the track will slowly begin to dry out over the course of this race. Currently, no more rain scheduled on the forecast.
So the track effectively at the peak amount of wetness and water that we're going to be seeing all night long. And it will only continue to dry out from here. Now, again, part of the challenge when it comes to racing, right, in the rain, yeah, that dry line is going to kind of form pretty quickly as drivers push the water off of the racetrack with their tires. The issue that you see is, in fact, there you see Kyle Blevins into the wet there as Kyle Blevins gets around the outside. The issue is that when you're on slick tires, if you try to run anywhere other than that slick line, you're not going to have it, right? I mean, there's still so much wet on the racetrack elsewhere that's going to make it a real challenge on the transition period.
Absolutely. How much the rain or the dry line forms really dictated by the number of cars on the track, how much they can keep heat in the racing surface. So with these cars and this amount of track, I think it'll be pretty easy to see that dry line form over the next about 15 minutes. And then from there is where that decision to make that swap to dry is going to be pretty interesting, especially because that really limits where you can go on this racetrack with how much standing water is still present.
Heck, you can already kind of see a dry line starting to form up, right? I mean, these guys have been racing approximately, look at that right there, right? There's already a dry line that's opened up right along the racing groove. It's just a matter of trying to get it wide enough that you can actually race in it.
Well, it's also a less wet line right now. You can still see the tires kicking up a little bit of wet water. It's not, I don't think it's a dry line yet. You can still see where that rooster tail kind of pops up out of Henry Morse's, off that spoiler. And I think that's still an indicator that it's drier. It doesn't have the standing water on it anymore, but I don't think it's dry yet.
Further behind, Darren White nearly running into the back of Tyler Carlton as Carlton's able to slip around the number 22 entry. Heading down the back straightaway as Darren White looking for the inside on the Super Formula Bros number 45 entry. Can he get down there? Yes, he does, as out wide going to go Tyler Carlton.
Aaron Thacker also slipping through in that as he was kind of hanging out behind both of those cars. Chris Bright in the tail end of that shot as well. Giovanni Romano trying to hold off to Devin Campbell as well as Ben Williams.
I don't often get the chance to mention it, but I do love how immaculate the wet weather looks on iRacing, right? I mean, it's got such a smoothness to it that very, very few games in the market are able to replicate. I have to applaud them for the great visual work they've done on this thing, because it is truly something else. It makes you almost forget, right, that you're running on an engine that was based on a 2002 game.
Yeah. It almost does. And then you look at where the water pools at Bathurst, and then you're reminded it is made on an engine in a 2002 game. But it looks stunning while it does it. It just kind of doesn't pool perfectly. But that's my only, I think, gripe about it. Otherwise, it looks wonderful.
Someone should tell them to just install more drain covers then.
Well, it's not even, they're on like hills. There's not, water wouldn't pocket on a hill, it would just keep going down. But
you never know. We see some wild things in BC. Let's put it that way.
Well, in Bathurst, you don't. The hills there are a little different.
Meantime, we still got Morse, Blevins, and Kasich. More turning into a fight for second here as Henry Morse is starting to open up that gap a little bit up the road. No drivers coming in just yet for the dry compound, and like you said, they're not going to be coming down for another few laps at least.
Mm-hmm.
Still got to try to eke out that dry line just a little bit more. Further behind, Henry Lieberman side by side with Tyler Agostino, and Agostino is able to hold on. And Crawford with the fastest lap of the race this time by.
Crawford making a pretty fantastic return, going up the order about a second faster than I think just about everybody else at the moment. Not quite, but about a good half second. And I think Henry Lieberman playing it safe there behind Tyler Agostino, keeping that car from spearing into Tyler Agostino as they go into turn number 1 there. So I think he'll find an opportunity and a good run out of the corner to retry that maneuver.
Further down the pack, Austin Tucker pound to the gearbox. Jimmy Castro trying to go down the inside and not quite able to get the lunge in there. So Castro able to pull clear as they fire back down the straightaway. Castro seeking to hold on. And Castro is going to, Castro does not hold on. Tucker is going to be able to slip through. Gets down the inside and up to 18th.
Yeah, that he was working that steering wheel pretty hard there, though, keeping it in the right direction, because that looked like that almost got away from him as he got into the curbing. Tyler Carlton, Austin, or Ben Williams swap places.
The position swap for Williams as Carlton's looking to get through as well. Carlton going to try to go around the left-hand side of the 187. And the 45 entry. Can he get around the other side? No, he does not. Tucks right back in line. So Ben Williams gets through to 16th as Alex Crawford is looking set to drive away, or at least he's trying to, but Henry Morse has been keeping himself very secure in the race lead, albeit Blevins is starting to close the gap in just a bit more.
Well, Cal Blevins had his personal best of the race, a 140.94 to Henry Morse's personal best of 141.30. So that 3/10 gap, that was an 8/10 gap between the two of them, has subtracted by that amount and ends up being a pretty close gap like we see here on the racetrack. Austin Tucker further back getting a spin. I just happened to catch up my monitor while I was looking at all this.
That's going to be a huge problem for Austin Tucker as well, right? He's going to be spinning all the way to the tail of the field now as a result of that. Big mistake for Tucker, and this is how it happened. Just lost her on the wet curbing, spun around, and backs her into the fence.
Yep, an unfortunate one. That's why you kind of stay off the curbing while it's still wet. It's not a good place to be for acceleration or braking. Both times it'll keep that car, or send that car flying around in one direction or the other as a result.
And Kyle Blevins has taken the race lead over from Henry Morse. He'll look for the inside into the final chicane. He's able to get it back going now as Henry Morse seeking to try and hold on for momentum. Kyle Blevins up the road is still having a pretty good time with this as well, as Blevins battling out as hard as he possibly can to try and maintain that momentum.
Kyle Blevins on a good run after the first couple laps, getting back around Henry Morris. I think we'll see these two probably trade for positions here, as the Henry Morris matching Kyle Blevins' last lap time, but now Kyle Blevins another half-second faster than his previous lap as well. So we'll see how these two get along as the dry line slowly begins to form. We see that lighter patches of tarmac, or asphalt I should say, underneath the kind of more wet line, as well as the standing water still present. So it's going to be, I think, pretty risky at this point to swap over to dries.
Adam Joseph Balehead will become one of our first official retirees of the race, and this was headed into another braking zone. He's going to go off the road into the grass, sand, just decides, nope, you know what, I'm done. Not keen on this.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but understandable. Better to park it than become a weapon that is not something you're looking to subject others to on track.
So right now, Morris continuing to close the gap on Jake Kasich, and critically, this gap, the lap times here in this battle, right, they're getting faster and faster and faster as the water drains out from the racetrack. A changeover point and knowing when to make that changeover point would be critical. Cavendish just reset the fastest lap of the race again. And now Morris looking for the inside into turn 3, and he's going to get the job done.
Yeah, but he's also going to have that tail end almost slide out from under him as he kind of clipped that curbing. So he gets it done. So next lap, see how he ends up. See if he gets too overzealous. I've seen a couple of drivers have that moment. Brooks Clayton being another one of those that has had a spin as a result. So they are still only a second between the top 3. Jake Kasich waiting for it all to go wrong and to sweep up the pieces from where he sits. And then Tyler Agostino not far behind as well, leading the pack, followed by Henry Lieberman, Eric Ronenberg, and Alex Cofford for the top 7 drivers in the front stand on the track. Another brief moment. No issues there as they continue to follow in the kind of standby pattern. You can definitely see that drier line forming on that brighter part of asphalt where the drivers are kind of almost veering away from at the moment to keep the tires from not overheating, which will cause them to run slower than if they stay nice and cool in the wet weather.
Oh, and around goes Henry
Morris.
Hard into the wall. Look out as the rest of the field scrambles to avoid the Sirius XM number 14. Huge mistake for the race leader. That lets Kyle Blevins right through as someone else got a bit sideways there. You saw as well coming off of the Wall of Champions. And Morse all the way back now to 13th as a result of that critical error that was completely unforced.
Yeah, just using too much curbing and then galloping power too much on that AstroTurf that is not even like half as grippy in the wet as the tarmac can be. And then the car just decided and said, nope, I don't want to drive that way anymore, and made him a passenger, flung him into the wall, and he's now picking up those pieces.
Austin Tucker with the new fastest lap, a 1:39.216, after he found himself facing the wrong way a couple laps ago. Under 45 minutes to go as we are into the second quarter of this race. Here you see Chris Flams trying to look for the inside of Giovanni Romano, but Romano again able to hold station. Flams is going to be forced to drop back into the clutches of Henry Morris.
See him get by pretty easily, it looks like, at the hairpin. Going up the inside, seems to think he's out. One off into the exit, seems to do so easily. Solid transition.
Darren by. Under fire, Ron Wolf down the inside. Can Wolf hold her on the racetrack? Yes, he does. A beautiful pass there for Ron Wolf. Making good use of the wet as he gets around by. Aaron Thacker go around as well behind them. One more car going to go into the fence. That is Ben Williams. Speared off the road, then comes back, noses it into the other side wall.
Oh,
careful now.
Keeps it out of harm's way. Doesn't lose a few more positions. Was fighting with Giovanni Romano earlier. I think that's going to be a pair of spins to bring him down the order.
Well, the field still showing no signs of slowing. As Alex Goffard swings her out a little bit wide. Jake Kasich trying to duck in line as well. Meanwhile, you've also got Henry Lieberman. Lieberman seeking to keep up the battle here as, oh no, Justin Hall. Hall going off the road. As Hall's going to get that ship righted and look to make his way back down the racetrack after he went around to the hairpin.
That hairpin, that slow section catches everybody out. Throttle control, one of the most important parts of the track. And using it, you're going to use it all the time in these cars anyway, but really, corners you have to nail it down are those slow sections where that car has no downforce to keep that rear end planted at all.
And I wasn't quite able to bring it up before, right? But you see quite a few drivers now dipping wheels into the wet asphalt in the middle of these straightaways. And like you pointed out, right, it is to keep the tires cool. They obviously can't do that in the corners, so take the chance to do it on the straights where it's not going to slow you down much, if at all.
Yeah, it's done where, like you said, they don't lose any time just running a different line through it. Also, it dries up a different part of the track, which is going to be helpful for them when they do swap the dries eventually. Have a little more room to work with in case they need to try to pass another car, because trying to pass into a wet path on a dry tire does not end well, usually for either party involved, depending on where that happens. But sure enough, the driver involved, as Sebastian Close, I believe, as well as Gabriel Gonzalez, find themselves into a bit of a issue there.
And that was on the front straightaway as well, as Gonzalez has gone upside down. Take a look back.
See Sebastian Close do the same thing here at the Wall Champions that Henry Morse did. And as he's trying to get this ship righted, backs up a little bit.
Oh, man. And Gonzalez just plows right into him.
Yeah, I'm not saying it looked intentional, but definitely looked like that car also wiggled from almost the same way, and he tried to catch it, and in doing so brought him into the line of contact with Sebastian Close.
Oh, I doubt it was intentional. My thought is,
yeah.
I'll explain this here, right? Look at this.
Yeah.
He sees, right there, see, he sees Sebastian Close back up across the racetrack. He thinks he's going to go all the way to the left side wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he makes that reactionary move down to the left-hand side to try and avoid him. And it turns out Close was not going nearly that far and ended up just plowing into the side. That's why you've got to be super predictable and very clear about what you're going to do when you're trying to rejoin the racetrack like that.
Certainly. Ron Wolf trying to stay out of the way of Aaron Thacker as well as Giovanni Romano. And keep that car from going the wrong direction. You can see it fully starting to form now, that dry line, where it looks darker from certain angles, lighter from other angles. That's where the track is now no longer considered, I would say, lightly wet, and actually has a bit of dry tarmac there. You can see all the drivers looking to make their way off of it at this point to keep the tires from overheating.
Or in some cases, like Giovanni Romano, just go for position. He's going to steal one away from Aaron Thacker. Thacker now trying to get the power down to drive back to him. Make that look for the right-hand side. No dice.
No, it is possible to do both at the same time. I think 2 birds with 1 stone is always a smart way to work. See how much steering volt they have to put in to get that car to rotate, and then how much they have to straighten out, and sometimes have to correct it to keep it from spinning on them as they go through that fast, but the fast left-hander into a slow right-hander.
Meanwhile, Henry Lieberman, Tyler Augustino, and Eric Ronenberg, 4th, 5th, and 6th. All under a blanket here as we are approaching the 37 minutes to go mark. Now, here's an even bigger question. If we see a full course yellow or a code 69, do we see drivers pitting early for slicks?
I think if a code 69 comes now, you could risk it. It would be risky in some sections, especially the slower corners where less heat gets moved from the tires into the, gets impacted from the tires into the racing surface. But I think there is just enough there to make it a doable strategy. You would have to be very confident in where you're placing that car, very comfortable with being behind a potentially slower car for a little while, just so you can get a nice run on a wide section of road where you can utilize all of it to not have that car hydroplane and lose control of it in the meantime.
Well, the battle for the lead picking up here as Alex Coffin has finally managed to catch up to Kyle Blevins, seeking to retake that lead once more for number 19.
A pretty much, fantastic wet weather run from Alex Cofford. Has seen him run all the way back up to second here with just under 24 minutes on the clock.
It would be Cofford's first win of the season. We can pull it off here. Albeit it would be his 23rd in his all-time career. So Alex Cofford really looking to try and maintain this strong momentum here as time continues to tick away. His latest win actually came at Bathurst all the way back in May. He is going on, about a 4-month losing streak now in this championship, and wouldn't this be something to see him back to victory lane once more?
I think it would be. I think it's a very well-earned one at that, for having to work with such interesting conditions, but that spin is going to make it harder.
Commentator's curse strikes again as Cofford spins her all the way back to 6. 5 seconds now. Still a chance at 2 code 69, so things could turn around with his fortunes. First driver onto slick tires, Scott Fleming, pitted for fuel, and he has jumped onto the slicks while he's at it. Right now, Jeremy Castro's in the pit road.
He puts on slicks as well.
Oh, look out! Into the wall, Evan Campbell. And that's going to cause a massive scramble. Here we go, cars hard into the inside wall. Carlton has gone into it big.
Ben Williams narrowly avoiding that contact with Tyler Carlton in the process.
Good grief. A big hit for Evan Campbell, who was really the catalyst to all of this. Take a look. It just got onto the AstroTurf, right? Can't get on there when it's wet. Round it goes, and up front, you're going to watch Carlton go hard into the wall.
Yeah, it really caught both him and Ben Williams out. Ben Williams just kind of hugged that wall once he had made that contact to keep the car from spinning on him, and I think that worked out really well for him as a result.
A lot of battles have been starting to kind of taper off here. There you see Alexander Bueller taking one spot away from Carson Catlin. As Henry Morris, for the first time in some time, he's going to reset. Fastest lap honors of the race, 136.528.
That he is. I think we're reaching, or will be reaching pretty soon here, that transition point where you can go faster on a dry track than you can on a wet, or dry tire on a dry track than a wet tire on the dry track. But as soon as you get off that racing line, it's still not very dry, so you have to be very careful and kind of keep an eye on the drivers that have come in for dry tires to see how they're faring as they get their first few laps in on dries.
Tom Adult black flagged on the way into pit road, so he has been given a potential pit road infraction in the pits here. Kyle Blevins, meanwhile, trying to hold off Jake Kasich and Henry Lieberman. Blevins' last line defense that saw him net a race win came at the very start of this season. That was all the way back on July 16th at the WeatherTech Raceway. Took a very, very strong win there. The third of his career. Sorry, no, Phillip Island. I just wanted to think about. My apologies. Phillip Island took that first win and took another one at Donington Park just a few weeks later. And now he tries to seek another.
Yeah, has pretty much the consistency there. And all he needs to do is keep up the pace, make that changeover at the right moment to really seal in his least spot at the top of the podium should he keep it working the right direction for the next 31 minutes.
Blevins actually took his first ever win all the way back in October last year at this very racetrack. It was in the SCCA Spec Racer Fords a couple seasons back at this point. So Blevins has he's got history here. He won the last race we held here in Montreal, and right now, if he can keep Kasich and Lieber behind him, he's looking pretty much on track to go for another one.
Absolutely. I think it'll be interesting to see how that changeover to dries suits him or doesn't. Especially with lap traffic coming into play, I think that'll make for an interesting shakeup at this halfway point in the race.
Oh, someone has just found the wall, and that is Stefan Purcell. Purcell has had issues on the way in, it sounded like.
That was Ben Williams, who was on the other side of the wall.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
there he was. Yep, man, that's the Wall of Champions.
That is the Wall of Champions. Stefan Purcell looked pretty smooth, actually.
He actually did.
From some of the ones that we've seen, yeah. It was very nice. See him stay on wets. One of our only drivers who's coming for a pit stop that is staying on wets. I don't know.
I don't know if that's by design.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I don't know if that's going to be the best call. Kyle Blevins trying to take the dry tires, but we'll see him have to get those rubbered in without too much issue.
Oh, the fight now trickles down to Kasich and Lieberman. With a little ways behind them, Augustino and Coffer now started to battle it out as, well, you got Alex Coffer making that lunge. Augustino waiting in the wings.
See how these two keep working forward. We're getting to that crossover point. We see different drivers trying strategy at different points. I think at any point now, between now and the end of the race, they can come in pretty much free and clear and keep their cars going the right way till the end on a one stop without too much issue. We'll see how well this goes as Coffer makes a look.
Coffer making that look. Oh, and he's into the back of Augustino. Just punts him off the road. They're both going to rejoin just on the exit of turn 2. with some hefty slowdowns. That lets Eric Ronenberg enter the fray, and he's ready to try to spoil Coffert's party. He's going to do just that as Coffert had to really slam the brakes to give up the slowdown penalty.
Yeah, I think Coffert just really, not really, but just misjudged
Oh boy.
where to brake early. Henry Lieberman finds himself on the inside of turn number 2,
Ooh,
and Henry Morris finds himself on the outside of turn number 2.
And Ryan Burroughs nearly got clipped by Lieberman coming back onto the racetrack.
Ooh, the dry tires are yet still treacherous on the, if you go off the racing line at this point.
As anticipated, as we see Stefan Brissell having to reverse and get back rolling as well, as he's trying to find a safe hole to get in. There really isn't one at this point in time. They kind of just got to commit to it sooner or later. Just make sure you're not really on the racing line. Pack of 4, Justin Hall, Chris Flames, Kyle Blevins, Giovanni Romano, all under it. 2 of these cars have already spun once or twice, and in fact make that 3 of the 4. I don't know if Justin Hall has gone around yet, but it's got to be unnerving having 3 cars that you know have had problems earlier in the night right behind you. And you know they have problems because that's the only reason why they are behind you.
It's really unnerving, but you have to remember that it's going to keep getting easier conditions of driving at this point. Now the rain has stopped. So you're hoping they've learned their lesson and they're going to be better going into this. But they don't seem to have kept too much of it as Justin Hall finds that barrier.
Was just talking about it. He was one of the few cars that didn't seem to be having problems. And, well, as he said it, and now Eric Ronenberg up into the air. He may have gone over with Alex Coffer.
What's going to happen here? Yeah, Alex Coffer is in front of Eric Ronenberg here going into the turn 3. Gets loose, gets unsettled. You see him make contact with the wall. And in the process,
oh my goodness, he did barrel roll.
And kept that car going the right direction.
And completely up and over there for Ronenberg, right on board with Alex Coffert's helmet cam, and what he saw.
See Eric Ronenberg do a sick kickflip using Alex Coffert's car for the air.
Does that count as a save at that point?
I mean, he did keep it going in the right direction. It did land on the wheels, and he did drive away like he hadn't had anything bad happen to him. I think so. You can just see Eric Ronenberg trying to do what little he can without trying to lose control of the car as well.
Well, Ronenberg right now down pit road. As this fight continues on, Lieberman trying to move up as he's going to duck around Ryan Verhulst.
That he is. Cars on the dry tires can set up to a 1:33.17. I say that as I see Eric Ronenberg spin it, trying to get out of pit lane. The pit exit still very, very wet. That's why we saw Henry Lieberman, Henry Morse both have issues on that pit exit.
So Ron Wolf continuing the fight. Wolf trying to go around the long way here. Romano down to the inside. As we approach about turns 8 and 9, and Romano gets through. Pretty easy fight for Romano as he slips on by. Brooks Clayton now going up against Kyle Blevins along with Henry Lieberman and Aaron Thacker. As hard on the brakes, and the number 9 maintains position. Not for long, here comes Blevins.
Yeah, Blevins going to have the run here. The dry tires.
But he's in the wet, he's in the wet, he's in too deep! Saw that coming a mile off.
Yep, and there's the spin as he tries to put the power down, but that wet racetrack is not going to comply with those dry tires.
Jake Kasich is out on slick tires. Tyler Augustino behind is just getting onto the slick tire transitions, and Kasich has immediately spun it into the grass on the exit of pit road.
We've seen most of the front runners do that at this point, trying to exit pit lane.
Oh,
Did a treacherous thing. Augustino doing the same exact thing, and Alex Cofford.
And this is all because, right, the pit exit is on the wet asphalt where they haven't cleaned it off yet.
Well, they also haven't driven on that asphalt at all, so none of the heat there. It's the same reason why we don't have any. There's still a bunch of rain. No heat has dried up the area off the racing line to a large extent, and it's even doubly so on that pit exit line and the pit lane in general. You can see how hard it is for, I believe it's Ryan Verhulst, to get that car going. I saw Eric Ronenberg spin it in there. Almost all of them have a little bit of that, twitch reaction trying to catch the car as the tires just spin and take it more sideways than forward.
And we got a few more that were on the way out of pit road. It looks like they've been able to kind of gather it up for the most part. Meanwhile, there is Henry Morse trying to fend off Alex Cofford for the final podium position. Right now, Cofford needs to get a code 69 to get himself back in the fight here.
I get that feeling, especially with the gap between Henry Morse and Jake Kasich with 12 seconds and another 4 seconds between the two of them and Giovanni Romano, who currently sits at the top of all this, also resetting the fastest lap just now.
You saw Darren By having a bit of a fuss there as Jeremy Castro has gone around and into the wall. Lieberman trying to attack Tyler Augustino for the 5th place spot. It gets close to the gearbox, but there's no room to make the look into the back of Ronenberg. Goes Aaron Thacker. Thacker going to slide out in to the wet, and around he goes.
Kyle Levin's going to slide past him as a result. These three coming through. Turn numbers 3 and 4. Going to 5, 6, and 7. All really a one-line race through here. Let's see. Lieberman once again try to get that car past Tyler Augustino, going into 8 and 9.
And Lieberman taking a very wise move there to quickly jerk back in line before they hit the braking zone, because braking on the wet was not going to go well for him, and he could have very well taken out all 3 contenders. 20 minutes to go. We've been racing for 40 minutes straight, and we're in the back third.
They are indeed, these three, the closest on track right now, so I think it's definitely some of the most interesting racing we'll see. Curious to see if he gets this pass done. Tucks it in once again. Big twitch out of Augustino though for the final corner. There's one area where the dry line is wide enough for these two cars, but once again that wet line, gonna take Eric Ronenberg almost into the rear end of Henry Lieberman.
Jason Lee trying to look with Brooks Clayton here as they go side by side. Coming down into the chicane. Lee hops up on the curb. Gotta be careful, and he's around. Tucker right in front, scrambles through Darren Bike. Oh no, Bike doesn't get around it. He's gonna catch the inside pit wall, and that is that.
That it is. He's gonna have to get that car going back the right way. Seen so many fast reactions from drivers. Fantastic racecraft to keep this car going the right direction, especially as they try to take the curbing and find it still too wet for the cars to really utilize in a way that is effective.
So Cofford, Augustino, Lieberman, and Ronenberg right now the biggest battle pack on the racetrack, sitting 4th through 7th here. And all of these guys not showing any signs on breaking apart from each other just yet. You got a 5th contender. Kyle Blevins very slowly but surely working himself into the ring.
Yeah, he's slowly making his way back up. I think he's been able to get those lap times done. A big slide from Alex Crawford at the beginning of this is going to keep this battle pack close. Henry Marks up the road, getting the fastest lap in. Now we're getting just shy of their dry lap time now on this racing line, but as soon as they get off of it, it is still very treacherous for dry tires.
Ronenberg maintains momentum right behind Lieberman. And how about that? Look at that, the sun starting to come out and finally burn some of this fog away.
Yeah, that'll also begin to warm up the track, which will get the rest of that racing surface to a much more hospitable working window for these dry tires, so they're not working on such a thin line to work with, and they have no more room to battle instead of having to yield and keep up with and try not to make it into a big mess from trying to break off the racing line in the wet.
You telling me drivers were not, in fact, interested in taking some tire performance testing lessons today? Oh, and around is Ronenberg.
Yeah. Yep, that is what I was reacting to. I definitely don't think that was something they were planning for, was tire performance testing, as well as reactionary stuff like that.
Whoa! Oh, boy!
Henry Lieberman and Tyler Agostino both slid Kyle Blevins.
Oh, look at that. Blevins straightened him out. He straightened him out. How about that?
Oh.
Look at that. How nice of him.
That was very nice of him. Tyler Agostino slung wide and into the wet is what happened there at the start. We'll watch them come from the final couple corners here. This is Eric Ronenberg, I believe. He gets on that gas too early in there, catches it, loses it again in wet. Keeps out of the wall. And then Tyler Agostino will run wide here. His wet tires catching the wet on the outside of the racing line, taking him wide. And the same goes for Henry Lieberman on the other corner. So both of them will be spinning around. Henry Lieberman able to pull it together. And Kyle Blevins helping Tyler Agostino get back on the right way.
And just like that, this race is going to effectively run caution-free, right? We only got 15 seconds until the Code 69 window is closed.
Oh.
So yeah, that's it. We are. No, I don't think. I think it would have happened by now, but well, that is it. It is now official. The window is closed, and we are going to have our first, I believe, our first code caution-free race of the season.
That is very true. I'm interested to see how these drivers. I think, given the situation, probably a lot of them were hoping for that Code 69. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Kyle Blevins trying to get around Aaron Thacker there in these closing stages. Last 15 minutes, it's going to be, I think, a final mad dash for positions. Track still not really dry outside of that racing line, though it's getting a wider place. As you see Kyle Blevins make that look up the inside, Aaron Thacker, I think, giving him the room to do so without causing issues for either of them. You still see standing water and wet track wherever that racing line isn't.
Well, the fight going to continue on here this afternoon as Ryan Verhulst just fends off Greg Beckman, or does he? Because he checks him up in turn 2 and nearly sends him for a ride.
Verhulst looking like he was trying to keep that car from spinning himself in the process.
Well, the fighting still yet to continue, and no sign of slowing down yet. We'll ride on board with Henry Morse for a lap or two as he takes you for some trips around the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve on a still Dryden Racetrack. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment. Well, a bit of action there on that lap as Alex Coffer went off the road. Henry Liebman had to go evasive. That allowed for Morse to jump both of them and push his way up to third. Further down the field, Brooks Clayton running a side by side with Austin Tucker. Tucker's in the wet, into the hairpin. He's going to hold on to it, though. Out wide, and he's into the wall.
Sort of held on to it.
Well, you can get away with that, remember, in a series where there's no damage on, but, I mean, you do that in an actual race, you're done.
Yes. That suspension would not be withholding that impact into the wall, as well as these invincible cars with no damage on in the beer league.
And he's got a run again on Brooks Clayton here, trying to make a look for the left-hand side. One car twitched out behind. That was Ben Williams, as Austin Tucker, again, in the wet stuff, getting sideways and unable to mount a proper offensive here on Brooks Clayton just yet. But he's going to keep trying, and that is slowly but surely reeling Jason Lee into the fight.
Yeah, it is. These three are going to be now duking it out. I believe what is essentially 14th overall, considering that neither of them need to pit again, which I don't believe they should. 65% fuel capacity for these drivers tonight, which means that it should be a pretty straightforward battle. Jason Lee getting a great run here. See if the wet weather, or the wet sort of dry line, will hold for him. Austin Tucker late on the brakes to keep that position going.
So Clayton, Tucker, Lee, all in an aggressive fight here still, as Clayton struggling to hold on in the wet stuff as he's able, oh boy, fires on one side of the track, back and across to the other. And here comes Austin Tucker with a big drive coming down the straightaway as he tries to make that look. Can he finally secure it entering that final chicane? He still has the right sides in the wet. Hard on the brakes. Jason Lee made a look. He couldn't make a successful one. And Austin Tucker through to 14th.
Yeah, Jason Lee got to try to get the same move done a corner later. Brooks Clayton trying to hold on to the position. Jason Lee breaking in the wet, keeping the car going the right direction. Cars all over the place as
Good
those
effort.
tires are wet into dry, keeps that car going the right direction. Great work on the steering wheel and with the pedals to keep that car going. He gets through as well.
Little by little, inch by inch, these drivers continue their strong fights here as Ben Williams looks set to try and chase after Brooks Clayton just up the road. Clayton holding to the left-hand side. Ben Williams trying to take this one down the inside. Williams in the wet, but at this point, these guys have gotten accustomed to these tricky conditions and they're able to master them.
There's also, thankfully, a very nice dry line for at least 2 tires to brake on at this point, even going too wide. So it's not as treacherous as having 4 wheels off. Those 2 wheels kind of catch the other 2 and keep them going the right, from locking up badly.
Lieberman also closing on Morse here as they fight it out for 3rd and 4th as Morse trying to hold on. Lieberman, he retains his position as they work their way back down the straightaway.
Morse dealing with lapped traffic, which I think is the biggest reason he's gotten back into this 1-second battle with Henry Lieberman. And the battle there, being under a second, and therefore a fight for position in the closing at 6 minutes.
While all this is going on, we got plenty of action still yet to come up this week on Green Flag TV, and well over 30 shows all throughout September to keep you guys well entertained. Very, very few days where we do not have any kind of racing action for you here. The Average Joe Sim Racing League will be out at the Chicagoland Speedway tomorrow night alongside the Highline Diecast Collectible Speed Cup Series at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. So twin race in Illinois, one from Madison, one from Joliet. The SRA Gen 4 Championship will be out at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. You'll likely be joining Howie Burrows alongside Lucas Moody on Saturday night. Then Sunday, it's the Blaze of Metals ARCA Series at Pocono alongside the For the Boys Racing Leagues. They return from a 1-week sabbatical over at the Last Great Coliseum. Round of 8 action continues for the High Tide Racing League Guardian Premier Series. They will be out at the Auto Club Speedway this coming Monday for the second of 3 races. And then OMSRL will be back. OMSRL will not be back for more. Instead, it is not Classic IndyCar Series either, by the way. That is coming up this Sunday. It is going to be a brand new series to the fold, fan. The Mid-Atlantic Racing Series is so far slated to kick off tentatively on September 9th. There has been some minor discussions on the potential movement due to it being update day. We will still see how things will pan out there. I do believe that they are looking to go ahead with that race this coming week. Right now, battle for 3rd, starting to drift apart.
Slowly is, as Henry Morse doesn't have to worry about the battle. Henry Morse doesn't have any traffic to worry about. He is now free to keep building the lead that he had with Henry Lieberman prior. So unless more traffic gets in the way, I think we'll continue to see this kind of slowly drift as these two find their natural pace.
Alex Coffert slings her out wide as Kyle Blevins is looking set to make that track up behind. And here goes Castro. Castro to the inside, and Tucker slips through as well. So Austin Tucker up to 13th. And we've only got, about 3 laps to go at this point in time now?
Say almost 2, depending on when they come back across the line. It'll be close. When Giovanni Romano here comes across the line, I guess it'll be 3. No, technically I think it'd be 2. It's currently set in 131 lap times, and there's less than 3 minutes left.
So Agostino, he is right now among one of the closer battles in the field. He and Aaron Thacker are still trying to eke out whatever spots they can muster here as Agostino trying to fend off Aaron Thacker. It's a hard-fought fight, though, right? I mean, these guys have been really putting up they've been putting up a fuss here for whatever spots they can get it up to each other for, as we see back here as well with Jason Lee and Jerry Castro. How about that? Lee using... Oh, never mind! I was just about to say, he's using the slippery stuff to help rotate the car and actually help him take the spot, and unfortunately over-rotated it on corner exit.
Absolutely. I would say you were correct, and he was leveraging that kind of almost like a further addition of the curb, but he used that to over-rotate, then was stuck in the wet, which means that car was going to be hard to drive, which means he's both lost his battle with Jeremy Castro, and then lost a spot to Justin Hall.
And meanwhile, Giovanni Romano beginning his final trip around here this afternoon. The Hail Satin number 99 looking for his 29th career win. Castro pulls to the side and allows him to take it easily. He is not looking to get in the way. And there has been William Zuscon off at turn 1. Morris, by the way, fastest lap of the race once again.
A fantastic run for Henry Morris. This time by creates a 2.5-second gap to himself, or to himself and Lieberman at the closing stages here.
Romano with 20 seconds on the clock. Going to work his way down the casino straight for the final time. What a day it has been. There's been trials, there's been tribulations. And after a chaotic race, Giovanni Romano will seek to take a walk-off win here this afternoon. He wins at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
That he does. Jake Kasich will probably, unless something crazy happens in the next 20 seconds here, end up in P2 as he ends up in the final corner across the line. Henry Morris, Henry Lieberman battling out for third here.
And Morris with the slowdown penalty. Here comes Lieberman. Lieberman drives around him and just barely snipes that one at the stripe. Tyler Agostino now coming into the final corner. He's got Aaron Thacker hot on his heels. This is the last battle for position on the racetrack here as Thacker trying to out-drag Aaron Thacker. He's got to run. Coming up to the wire. Is he going to make the lug? Yes, he is. Side by side, but it's going to be Agostino hanging on for 7th.
Yeah, that Agostino has been playing defense against Aaron Thacker the past few laps, and that has paid off for him, keeping that position. P7 over P8. And the usual post-race festivities begin.
It's a big day for Giovanni Romano, who comes home this afternoon with win number 29 of his extensive beer league career. And sorry, his second win this season. He also took the win at a carnage-filled Willow Springs Raceway. So
that is correct. Yep.
He's able to get a walk-off here. Castro helping him celebrate there as they head down to the front straightaway. And I'm sure Romano, a very happy camper, right? There's always something special about winning the race in your own backyard, in your home country, especially when there's only, out of all the tracks on the iRacing service, your country only hosts 2 of them. It's got to feel special for him.
Absolutely. I think it's one that I think he'll be super happy to have won, and I'm excited to hear how that goes for him when we talk with him in just a moment's time.
We'll take a look at your official post-race results here this afternoon as a wild race will see Giovanni Romano take win number 29 of his beer league career. Jake Kasich comes home second this afternoon with Henry Lieberman back in third. And it's Henry Morris, Kyle Blevins, Tyler Augustino, Aaron Thacker, Alex Crawford, Eric Ronenberg, and Chris Flams to round out the top 10.
In 11th is going to be Alexander Bueller. Ron Wolf is going to take home 12th. Austin Tucker in 13th. Jeremy Castro and Jason Lee round out that top 15. Ryan Burrows, Greg Beckman, Ben Williams, Justin Hall, and Brooks Clayton round out your top 20.
21st to 30th, Gabriel Gonzalez, it's Darren By, Tom Adol, Evan Campbell, Carson Catlin, Sebastian Close, Chris Price, Stephen Russell, Tyler Carlton, and Scott Fleming.
And the last 5, Ryan Murphy, Adam Josemailhot, Alex King, Justin Brissy, or excuse me, last 4. We're going to be the last 4 drivers. I believe all 4 of them don't check the flag, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, not taking the checker flag either here. So, well, all of that takes us to the close of racing action here this afternoon. And what a night that this one was. A hard-fought race from start to finish as we will look set to give a chit-chat here with all the drivers that come home, numbers 1, 2, and 3 here this afternoon. We'll look to start things off first and foremost with one Giovanni Romano, the man of the hour, comes home on home turf to take victory here in Montreal. Giovanni, you are 1 win away from a historic 30th win, the only driver in any Green Flag TV broadcast to obtain 30 wins in a league that they would be running. And you'd be a first for the channel on that. How does it feel to take number 29 here on home turf?
Oh, it was great. That was an awesome race. I shout out to iRacing for this whole rain model. That was just a perfect example of how awesome it is. Like both the rain and the heat race, and then the drying track and the feature and the dry line appearing, but there's still puddles offline. So the racing line for the entire race, even on slicks, wasn't really the proper dry line because you had to stay out of the puddles and the damp bits, and it was really, really cool.
Well, you take a look at how this race has gone today, right? I mean, you mentioned all the changing track conditions, and a lot of the changing track conditions, especially in the main event. That was, I think, one of the big talking points here this afternoon, as well as in the heat race section. I actually want to talk about the sprint. You were one of only 3 drivers that started the race on wet weather tires. Do you regret that decision, or do you think that paid off for you?
Well, it worked out. What I did was I sat in the garage watching the radar on the zoomed in view, and like 30 seconds before grid, I saw like the rain sort of appear on the edge of the radar. I'm like, okay, let's just try wets and see. It should probably start raining within 5 minutes, and yeah, it did. So it ended up working out because it got just wet enough at the end that some of the slick drivers, either at the pit or they spun out because they were aquaplaning. So it was a complete gamble. Could have gone either way, but I thought it would be fun. So I tried it out and it worked.
Overall, a stellar win for you here this afternoon. Do you have hopes that you can take home the 30th win of the season when we go racing here once again? It'll be at Suzuka, and well, there might be a bit of weather there as well, as it turns out.
Well, Suzuka's a great perfect track for these. Absolutely perfect. So that'll be good. And I think it's a pretty tight championship right now. Last I checked, between me and Henry Morse. I think Henry got a good result today too. So there's not much separating us. So I could probably go either way. Well, I think just a couple rounds left. We'll see how it goes.
All right, well, wish you the best of luck when we go racing once again. Congratulations on taking home number 29 here this afternoon. We'll see you when we go racing next time out in Japan.
Thanks. See you guys.
Giovanni Romano comes home number 1 this afternoon. We will move on down to Jake Kasich. The driver of the number 11 comes home after gaining 10 spots. He is sitting in second and standing by with Fennicini.
Coming home, P2, Jake Kasich, a fantastic result. Not quite as good as your run out last time, but I say, given the circumstances, a fantastic result all the same, coming up 10 positions from your sprint race finish. How was it?
Oh, it was such a fun race. I love these changing conditions. iRacing did such a good job, and it's so much fun to just try and push through and figure out, where the actual limit of grip is. I'm really sad that I had that spin on pit exit after my pit stop. I think I probably could have ended up out in front of Gio, and we could have had a good battle, but because I didn't, he was able to just completely gap me, and unfortunately I wasn't able to fight up from third, but from second, but thankfully we were able to kind of stay on the podium.
Absolutely. I think you, along with almost everyone else, had issues on that pit exit. It was treacherous, I think, to say the least. With how this race is going, did you wish you'd started the sprint on wet tires? I saw a couple drivers doing it. I don't think you were one of them, and I was curious whether or not you wished you had.
No, I don't think so. I think in that race, it was a strategy both Coffer and I employed, and it was really risky, but we kind of just tried to hang it out to the end. And, it got to be those last couple of laps, and I really seriously thought about pitting, but, I saw the guys behind were 16 seconds. So it's at that point, am I really 16 seconds a lap slower? And turns out I was only 11 seconds a lap slower. So, you just can kind of push through on that one. And going on wets, it was just going to be something where you're just going to lose so much time at the start. So it's better to just try and kind of risk it and stay out as long as you can on dries, because the top speed advantage is just crazy.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like a fantastic race. I think we're going to Suzuka next week, theoretically with rain, if you believe the bot. Do you think that'll be another exciting podium for you as well?
Oh, I sure hope so. Suzuka is such a fun track, and if it's wet, it's going to be just absolutely incredible. I mean, the racing with the beer league in these cars has been so good, and there's so many fast people out here, and Suzuka is just a great track for this car and for, the beer league. So I think it's going to be so much fun.
Awesome. Well, we will wish you the best of luck next week when we go racing in Suzuka, and until then, good luck.
Thanks, you too.
Awesome. And that is Jake Kasich, who came home number 2 tonight at Circuit Gilles. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. There we go.
And we'll move on down to Henry Lieberman, the driver that comes home number 3 here this afternoon. Henry, a bit of a hard-fought fight with you. You're just able to snipe Henry Morse coming to the wire there. Talk us through that final lap, as I do believe Morse may have, in fact, had a slowdown coming off of the final corner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we just ran into some traffic on the last lap, and coming into the last few turns, Henry just had a worse stroke of luck through it than I did, so I was able to get a good run on him down the back straight. But yeah, I just had a slightly better exit, and I didn't know he had a slowdown. That kind of explains why he was checking up at the end there.
Well, you're able to walk away with a good third-place finish this afternoon. It kind of seemed like a revolving door for that third-place spot. Drivers would fight their way up, then overdrive on defense, and end up spinning, usually coming off of the final chicane right onto the pit straightaway. I know you were not free of your own struggles throughout the course of the afternoon, what with pit exit being a calamitous spot. How did you manage to survive all of that carnage, though, and walk away with third this afternoon?
Yeah, so after the track started drying off, I was able to find a rhythm and stay on the dry line a little better than everyone else. But yeah, pit exit, I was victim to that too. It was just so soaked off that racing line. So I know a few of the other top spot guys had their own little oopsies through that section. But yeah, it was just catch and draft, staying consistent and not trying to go too far out of the track. So yeah, I think today was more about just keeping it off the grass than anything.
Well, next week it's going to be a trip out to Japan, right? The ever-famous Suzuka circuit. What do you reckon is going to be in store for you at a track where, these Super Formula cars have made their home?
Well, it's going to be another week where I'm going to a track that I haven't driven in my life before. So it's always just learning it as fast as I can and then having fun while doing it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we wish you the best of luck as we swing back out across the Pacific. Congratulations on taking home number 1, and number 3, and we will see you next week in Japan.
Yeah.
Every week I do that, and every week I pray that I will not do it again, and it keeps happening. One of these days we'll manage to depart with our 3rd place probably without rubbing salt into the wounds. But next week it's Japan, right? Suzuka, a very, very famous track, and a track near and dear to Japanese Super Formula fans, right? It's the home of the Japanese Super Formula Series, a place where they usually run a couple times a year alongside the Super Formula Lights. So these cars returning to their home country for the first time.
They are indeed, and I think one of their, like you said, one of their home tracks. They go there multiple times a year. Each time they go out there, they have multiple races. So it's a well-renowned track for actual real-life drivers, as well as a big portion of the Formula drivers that are both in beer league as well as on the iRacing surface. I think it's going to be a great homecoming for these Super Formula Lights. I think we'll see a lot of interesting action, especially if the bot is true about this with rain that is said. I think we'll have another fantastic race like we did tonight with a little more elevation change, a little more banking.
Bit more elevation change, a bit more banking, and just as much of the intensity. The last time we were out there was with the Toyota GR86s, and boy, this one is not going to be any less intense, no sir. Before we get to that, it's an Illinois swing on Greenflight TV tomorrow night as the Highline Diecast Collectible Speed Cup Series will swing to Madison at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, while the Average Joe Sim recently makes a stop in Joliet for more racing action for the penultimate race of their championship as well. Then it's XRA swinging back up to Concord, North Carolina, to America's home for motorsports for the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And then for the Boys Racing League, back with more at Bristol Motor Speedway, alongside the Boys Metals ARCA Series over on Sunday. Want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you? Check us out today at www.greenflightTV.com. Once again, my name is Nolan Rempel alongside Fenichini. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week in Japan on Greenflight TV.
Thank you.